going to learn what is class and what is object. Now we are going to understand the complete concept without touching any kind of code. Okay, in this video we'll try to understand what is the concept behind class and objects. In the next video we'll try to implement that with an example, then we can have a good grip on what is class and object. So let's get started. So for suppose we have two vehicles, one is a bike and one is a car. So let's write down the properties of it. So suppose wheels, we have two wheels in the bike, seating capacity is 2, we functionality wise, okay, so these were like properties of a bullet bike. And then coming to functionality, we can have we can drive that. Okay, similarly if we write properties of car, we have props, that is we have wheels, how many wheels, 4, and seating capacity for suppose 4. And here for sports cars we have 2, but in general we are talking. Okay, now coming to functionality, again we can use it in many ways, but one of them is driving, so we are writing driving. Okay, so these are nothing but what properties does a car is having and what functionality does it do. Okay, now if we see this bike or this car, if it is there in the real world and we can touch it, okay, so anything that we can touch is a real world entity. So in languages we call them as objects. So basically when we are talking about a vehicle, okay, so talking about vehicle doesn't mean that vehicle is there. It means that if vehicle is there, it will have these properties, it will have these functionalities. Now objects is like, okay, it is present in front of you, you can touch it, that is what object is. So I'll explain you one more thing, then maybe within 5 minutes you can have a clear concept of it. Okay, if you see what is common in all these things is we have wheels properties, we have seating properties, we have driving functionality. Okay, now if I write down it in a separate area, okay, let's write this down, align text. Okay, so again I'm writing properties, wheels, now here I'm not giving any value, and then seating capacity. Okay, again coming to functionality, in functionality let me write drive. Okay, there can be a number of other uses, but we are talking in general. Now if we see in this blue box, we are not saying how many wheels, we are not saying what is the seating capacity, we are not saying how to drive, because driving bike is different, driving car is different. So we are writing just, okay, this will be the functionality, these are the properties. So this grouping of properties and its related functionalities. Okay, now if you see, if I write here steering or handle, that will be one more property. Okay, so the basic concept is I'm writing whatever the properties and what are the functionality a vehicle does, and I am giving this box name as vehicle. Let me write that. Okay, so I wrote vehicle here, which is name of this grouping of properties and its functionality. So when we are saying that there is something called a vehicle which will have these properties, these functionalities, we call it as a class. So when you write a class in a program, it doesn't mean anything. So in real life also, if we have something called vehicle, and it doesn't mean anything until and unless we implement something out of it. So we know if a vehicle is there, it will have all these things. So what we did, we implemented a bike, we implemented something which we call as bike, and which is having all this properties and functionality. And it's not like if you are implementing a class whose name is vehicle, it should have only these properties and these functionalities. But what it means is, if you are creating any object, okay, object of a vehicle, it should have for sure these things. You can have some extra things, but for sure these things you should have. Okay, so if suppose you are creating a vehicle called cycle, okay, then it might not have a property called fuel, but bike, car, it will have a property called fuel. Okay, so class says if you are creating some, if you want to use me, you can't use me directly. You have to create an object, and it should have the properties and functionalities, and then you can call it as an object. Now why we are like, how can we differentiate what to call as class, what to call as object? If you are able to touch anything, okay, if you are able to touch anything, it means it is made out of something. It is made out of something means it is an object. Object is nothing but a real world entity which you can touch. Okay, so which you can touch means it is taking some space or something in your world. Okay, so coming to programming context, when you are writing a class, it will not take any kind of space because it is simply a grouping, and it doesn't make any sense until and unless you implement an object and then you use it. Okay, now if suppose I call an object and I call it as object.drive. Okay, an object.drive means, suppose my one of my object is bike and my another object is car. Now I created all these objects from a class whose name is vehicle. Now if I want to call drive, okay, now what to drive? I cannot simply call drive. I need to call bike drive or car drive. You are getting me, right? So if I call drive, what to drive, no one will know. So for that, for using any functionalities of class, we need to create an object, and then we can suppose this object's name is bullet, so I'll say bullet.drive. Then this functionality will be called. Okay, and if I create another object whose name is car, and then I call car.drive, then it will drive this car. If I say okay, let me have this for, okay, now here wheels are 4, seating is 4. Okay, now if we have some cycle, okay, so cycle will be nothing but another object, and then I will be calling cycle.drive, so it will be another functionality. So it's like this drive is there. When I call bike.drive, whatever it is there under this function, that will be called, and whatever it is there under this function, that will be called when I'm calling car.drive. Now if I say bullet.wheels, or I say, okay, let's give this name as bike, not bullet. Okay, if I say get me bike.wheels, so bike is nothing but this box, okay, and car is nothing but this box. And if I say car.wheels, it's like if I want to access any of them, I need to call object name and then this properties, object name and then these functionalities. So if I say car.wheels, I'll get this value. If I say car.seatings, I'll get this value. It basically means when I'm saying car.seating, in the sense I'm asking a car has how many seating, a car has how many wheels. Now if I say car.drive, then whatever it is there written under this functionality, that will execute. If I say bike.drive, this will execute. So that is how our object is there. Object is nothing but implementation of this vehicle. Okay, so implementation is nothing but if you write a function called drive and you don't tell what to do when this function is called, okay, that is simply like in drive we'll have a print statement, okay, this is a vehicle. But if I implement an object of vehicle, then I can write anything under drive, anything under this drive, anything under this wheel, this seating, according to the requirements of this bike. Now if I create one more object called cycle, then I have to give what is the wheels property of a cycle, what is the seating property of a cycle, what to be done when cycle.drive is called. So that is how we create an objects. Okay, this was a conceptual thing. Now we'll see how to implement this in Java program. Okay, so if you have any queries in this in terms of general understanding, not regarding code, because that we will be doing in the next video, you can write down in the comment section. That's it. Thank you.